Hello, dear friends. Welcome. This is another webinar we are going to have with you. And today's topic is about the spiritual levels of development and how this can help us in astrology, how we can use this to understand better the horoscope. So I will wait a moment to see if everything is okay. And if I can see your comments also. So we are going to start in a moment. Let me see. Interesting that I can see the comments. Okay, here I can see it. Okay, Zoom and YouTube are interesting when they work together. So I want to see your comments because today actually we are going to have free readings. So that's important part. Okay, here I can see the comments. Okay, got it. Perfect. And now I can see. Hello to everyone. Hello. Find it. I can bring it here on my phone. It would be great as well. If not, then not. Hello, hello. Found it here on my phone. So we are good to go. Thank you for your patience. So, spiritual levels. Why are we even talking about this? And what are we even doing here? So, found it. I also need to mute myself. Okay. So, we are having our astrology journey, our free marathon for 6 days. This is our second meeting. If you haven't watched the previous one, it's available on AstroLada, on Lada Duncheva's YouTube. And yesterday we talked about which are the strategies or the ways to become a top 1% astrologer. And the next 5 meetings, including today, we will dive deeper into that. And I will show you some concrete techniques, approaches, and ideas that you can implement if you want to learn astrology for yourself or as a career, and if you really want to be at a top level. So the things that I'm sharing are advanced level techniques. But even if you are a beginner, I still recommend you to join us and to listen to those sessions, because you will understand, if you are interested in that, you will understand what are the possibilities that astrology is providing you, especially the one that we are discussing with you during our marathon. And also, we are starting a new course on astrology for development and progress. It's starting during December, so I will tell you again about the training if you are interested, if you want to learn. We have some brand new, amazing options. So it will be one of a kind, something that we haven't done before. Also, as I said, we we'll have free readings if we have volunteers. So stay with us. If you have questions, if there's something you want to find out about, you can join me later. So, spiritual levels. Why are we even talking about this? Why this is important if you just want to explore your horoscope? This, my friends, is the concept which will literally separate you from everyone else and will help you to see things that many other astrologers are not able to see if they are not considering this concept, of course. So I'm not exaggerating. This is literally one of the most important things, because once you understand the concept, once you understand what are the options, what are the possibilities, what are the levels that exist, and with practice also and knowledge, you learn to see that and to recognize it in the chart, you will no longer be surprised or confused why certain things work in a different way or different planets, or why you can't get the logic. So basically, the different spiritual levels, or we may also call this level of development or level of evolution, define how we process the energy of the planets. So this is important about everything else in the chart. And you can understand so much about someone's path, where they are currently, what are their main struggles, and also what is the next step. So because there is a logic, those spiritual levels, they are not just, randomly. You can't skip from first to the fifth level, metaphorically speaking. So if you understand where you or the particular person are, you will know, okay, what is the next step for me? A few general things we also need to say. And this is important overall about our horoscope. The horoscope is showing your potential, but it takes time until this potential is unfolded, or until you can really get to the bottom of everything that is possible from this chart. In other words, just like, for example, when we are born as babies, we have the potential to learn to speak, to communicate, to understand speech and many other things. But of course, initially, we are not able to do that, but we have this potential. And that applies to many other things. The reason why I'm saying this is because, especially if you are exploring the chart of someone who is in their 20s or 30s, or even in their 50s or 60s, their potential may not be still fully present or unfolded. So keep this in mind, that when you evaluate a spiritual level of development and growth, the person may still be catching up with this in their current life. The idea is that, of course, this is mostly for people who are more open to the idea of incarnations. So we have our evolutionary path of development in different incarnations, and everything is building up. And we have gotten to a certain level, whatever that might be for each of us. But when we are born, it doesn't mean that we are immediately right away at the maximum that we have already achieved in the past. In other words, we start again from somewhere, and we may repeat certain steps or certain phases of development. But if we have already passed generally those phases in previous lives, in this life, we will pass them much faster until we get to the phase which has been our maximum in general, and then we will need more time. When we reach this point of, our maximum ever, whatever that might be. For someone, it might be the Mars level or the Saturn level, or we'll explore those levels in a moment. But when we reach this maximum, then things slow down and we need more time to make the next step. So keep this in mind. This is very important, that we are still repeating some of those phases, especially when we are younger. And again, here we don't have like universal rules that would apply to everyone. Like, for example, until the age of 30, you are supposed to reach your maximum. That would be different in every case. So it's absolutely possible that you or someone else whose chart you are exploring may not have reached their maximum yet, and it's about to come. And when I say maximum, I mean the maximum of what they have achieved so far, from where they can continue to grow. So this is important to consider. Another thing, how fast are we growing? No universal answer again. It depends on the intensity of our experiences. And sometimes during particular incarnations or particular phases of our life, there might be a very intense growth, very intense. And depending on the phase where we are growing or developing, we will have a different type of experiences, but they might be more intense, yes, when we are growing. And also there might be more passive phases. There is even an idea that this is called like a soul on vacation. Those are incarnations during which we are taking a break. This is also possible, and it happens. If you have done a very intense work in the past, in previous incarnations, you might need and you might be here on what we call a break or vacation. So not everyone is supposed to grow intensely all the time. Also keep this in mind. There are times when things are slowing down or we need a break. It could be for a certain period, or again, sometimes it could be for a whole life. And this doesn't make the life bad. Actually, usually those lifetimes or life experiences can be easier. Like you're just not so forced or pushed to do anything. Of course, you have to handle with your human life, but the point is that you are not forced to grow, to jump to another level or anything like that. So there are souls on vacation or on a break. Another thing also, we are never judging ourselves or the people whose charts we are reading. Objectively, most of us are on a low level of development. That's the reality. Here, when it comes to people who are watching such webinars or are interested in astrology or spirituality, the percentage might be different. Yes, here things might be different. So among us, I'm pretty sure that there are also many evolved souls. But generally, in the regular world, keep in mind that most people are still on a low level of development, and it's not a bad thing. We have all started from the basic levels, as we will see in a moment. This is the moon level. We have all started from the zero. So no one is born or created as, like evolved and already completed, and no. So we have all been through all of the levels before, and that's normal. And again, this is not a bad thing. Okay. Hello. I love seeing your comments and where you're joining us from. We have people from Africa, great. From Europe, from the US, the Balkans. Me too. Great. Also, you can share your questions at certain point. I may not answer right away, but at certain point, I will check also your questions. So feel free to ask. Of course, try to stay relevant to our topic, please. And I will not interrupt the session all the time, but at certain point, I will try to get through as many questions as possible. So let's get started with the first spiritual level, where we all start. And here I have prepared my notebook. I'm not sure if this will be more helpful if I do it this way, but we'll try. Let's try. So this will be our starting point. Can you see it? The color is not so bright, but I hope you can kind of see it. So the moon. This is our initial starting level. We all start from the moon level. What is the moon level? The moon level is basic survival and nothing else. Just learning to be a human. Just learning to be a human, nothing else. On the very basic moon level, we are not expected to do anything really significant. We are not expected to achieve great things, to be extremely successful. Very importantly, we are not supposed to separate from the crowd and from other people. The moon brings this very amorphic energy. So there is no structure there. There are no boundaries. It's just this very simple, basic energy of life. So we all start from this level. And again, at the very beginning, our main task is just to learn to survive, to learn to be a human being, to get used to a physical body, to survive, to handle with the outside world, with reality, and that's pretty much it. So on this basic level, people are mostly interested in surviving, just getting through their lives. Usually they don't have significant goals. They don't have a motivation to achieve something big. They don't have the impulse to create or to build up or to be any different or to innovate. Like those things are just not part of their world and their reality. Again, I'm reminding this is not a bad thing. We have all started there. And if you think about it, when we are born as babies, this is again where we start from. Our main task as babies and kids is just to survive. First thing is to survive. Then there are other things added. But the main thing for newborn baby, survive, learn to eat, get used to a body, pretty much it. So people whose soul is, you may call those young souls. They really are young souls. All they need to do is just get through this life. So you will recognize them by the fact that they don't really have big ambitions, desire to be different, strong motivation, strong willpower. Not really. Just to pass through life without big, turbulent, shaky experiences. Usually that's one of the most important things for those people. They are afraid of changes. They don't want changes. They are afraid of making some big steps or anything which is, beyond their current reality. They don't want to expand. They don't want to see anything different. So just what is around them, what feels safe, their usual life, That's their main focus, and they want to stay there. And again, we need this phase, so it's not a bad thing. Just like the baby, when we are born as babies, we also need to get through this, but of course we are usually getting through it much faster, a couple of years usually. So the first moon level, just basic survival, the basic needs of the body are very important, like finding money, providing for ourselves, raising a family, having a future generation, like that's pretty much it. The next level, which is still part of the moon, but it's like a more, we can say, evolved moon, is when we start having some desires. To call them goals might be a strong word, and you will see in a moment why. Here, even if it sounds like a goal, it's not really. But the desire, the focus could be not to be worse than other people, to be as good as others around me. So again, the moon, this is our closest environment. The first one, of course, is, within our mother's belly, then our mother again after we are born, the closest family, then it's the place where we live, the people we communicate with around us. So that's the closest environment. It could be the neighborhood, even the city or the country. So on the upgraded, or the first step after just the basic survival moon level, the first step is not to try to survive and just get through life, so it's kind of over finally, but you are trying to keep up with the level of other people around you. And depending on the environment and the social circle, you will have different, okay, let's call them goals, but they are not true personal goals. That's very important. The person may or may not realize it. But yeah, you will see in a moment that we can differentiate this. So on the upgraded, like a second moon level, we are comparing ourselves to others and we want to be as good as them. But pay attention here that we don't want to be much better than others. Here, we don't want to separate. We don't want to differentiate. We don't want to be unique. We don't want to be different. We just don't want to be worse than others. And this may apply to different social levels. So, for example, if you are born in a, let's say, simpler environment and people around you are, let's say, not that wealthy, you just try to keep up with those standards. If you are born in a, let's say, or your family is part of a very well-educated environment, or people who are very well educated, you also try to follow this standard, not to overcome or outgrow it, just to align with the standard. So you may want again to have the needed education to succeed in this way, but the main motivation is to fit, to follow the standards that other people have created around you. Again, not a bad thing. And if you are born in a very wealthy environment, let's say people in your social circle are billionaires, have own businesses, you will also try to keep up with this level and you will follow this level. My point here, why I'm showing you like different options for cases, is that you cannot define this just by the fact how much one has, like how much money or businesses or education or kids or whatever. This is not enough to define their level of development. In other words, someone might be really successful in business or may have, I don't know, like a PhD and other qualifications. And that's not necessarily an indication that they are really developed and evolved. They might be very good at what they are doing, successful. They may have a lot to bring to the world, but they might be just trying to match or to keep up with the level of other people around them. So they are not worse than others. And here, by the way, there is no guarantee that we are successful in this. We may not be sometimes, but depending on the motivation of the person, for example, if they feel really bad if people around them have more than they do, and they're trying to, get to this level just because others have more than me around me, then this may also be a sign that the person is somewhere on this moon level. One of the options. Usually here also, one of the main motivations of people is to have fun. Just having fun and living a nice life and having lots of celebrations. Like one of the main motivations for people on this level is to have a nice life, pleasures, the pleasures of life. Here, I want to say something in advance. Someone may have the desire to enjoy life, but it doesn't guarantee that they're on this level. So don't make assumptions quite yet, because when we make the turn, you will see that on another level, this may also happen, but with a different flavor, with a different perspective. But on the first starting basic moon level, people have this like a cult. And if you think about it, for the most part, I think especially our Western civilization, in Europe, in the US, even though, of course, there are nuances, but our Western civilization really prioritizes this. Having fun, having a nice time, vacations, nice food, nice restaurants, parties, and of course, the more destructive nuances or options like alcohol, drugs, whatever, other stuff. So we as civilization, humanity, for the most part, we are here. Obviously, there are exceptions. There are people who are much ahead and souls which are much developed. But for the most part, most of us are there, wanting to have a nice life, having fun. Why games or competitions or sports have so much fans? Because we prioritize this to have fun, to enjoy life. Again, it's not a bad thing. But usually on this level, there isn't much more than that. So the main two descriptions or factors, one is to try to be like everyone else, so not worse than other people. As a clarification, it also means that the person still doesn't really know what they want. So here we don't have a well-developed identity or individuality. That's like a long way ahead. Here, it's the moon. Also, the consumption, this concept, and I think, again, you would agree that for the most part, right now, our civilization is at this point that we consume so much. We need to consume. If we have this like very accentuated in our life that we constantly want more. We want to have more. We want to consume more fun, more entertainment, more whatever, food, more clothes, more jewelry, more that. If we want to consume, that's the first level of the moon. So if I think of something else, I may jump back and forth, but I think those are the most important things. So being like everyone else, no separation clearly from others, and the extreme focus on or prioritizing the fun or the not doing anything significant as work or effort, or like on this level, usually it's more problematic. So what happens then? We looked at some of the moon level characteristics or expressions. So I will try to, this will be fun, but I hope you will keep up with me. What happens after the moon? Can you see it? Kind of. Yes, so after the moon, the next level, the first next step is Mars. That's what comes next. What happens on the Mars level? A few things. Our main goal is to learn to separate from the environment, not to isolate. So this is different. We will get to the point of isolation. It's coming after that. So here it's not isolation yet, but it's differentiation and separation. And yes, it happens mostly through Mars, which means that our life, our experiences, strategies, what we go through is preparing us to start differentiating, to start separating from the masses and the crowd and everyone else around us. And for those people, what's important is to start developing their individual willpower. There are nuances again. We will go into more details, by the way, during the training. I hope you understand that right now I'm just trying really to summarize it as much as I can. But this is a topic for like a whole training, which of course we will focus on and we will do. So I'm trying just to bring the essence of as much as I can. On this first Mars level, again, we still don't have a strong individuality. We still don't have, recognizing our true self, or like, again, this is far away. But we start having this desire to do something different, to be different, to do something else, not to be like everyone else, not to be, in the part of the crowd all the time, or, to be labeled and all of that. And very often, this may look like some kind of conflict. Very often, it starts from the family environment. So such kids are usually not easy to, to control or to tell them what to do. And very often they may have conflicts with the mother or with the family overall, and also the closest environment. When this is too much, those are people who may see the world as a battlefield. Like, others are against me, they're my competitors, or they're my enemies, or, they are against me, all of those stories and filters. they come on this level. If we feel like we are somehow attacked or we need to prove something, this competitive energy is usually coming on this first Mars level. So the main motivation for the person becomes to separate, to differentiate, to start differentiating. So we are again far away from the actual individuation or all of that, but we start moving in this direction. So, by the way, on this level, many people can be successful in business or any area where you need this competitive spirit. It could be in sports, it could be in any activity. So, yeah, people on this level might be quite successful if they find their thing and how to also manage this energy. And again, what is interesting here, when you can look things from perspective, and for example, let's say that you are on this level, or your client or your kid or someone close to you. If you are staying only on a minor basic level and you just see how things are developing in life, you may say, but I'm constantly fighting with someone, or my family doesn't understand me, or you may see things like more superficially and you may not get the point. If you can see things from perspective and you see, okay, this person is somewhere around the Mars level, or they need to get to this, then you understand that this is not a bad thing, that even you're feeling that you need to fight, you need to overcome something, others are some kind of competitors or enemies, or at least they are very different from you. But when you see that that's where your growth is, actually, I think the perspective changes completely. So I find it, again, really, really helpful to be able to get to those things. So I will try to go a little faster because I see that our time is really flying. So I won't take much time for everything. What comes after Mars? So we develop our willpower, we learn to be individuals. Maybe we can say it, even though that's not like a complete, like fully developed individual, but there is already some kind of like the first signs of some kind of individuality. And again, this is not a bad thing. This doesn't make, by the way, those people stupid or unsuccessful or incapable. Actually, especially those like the Mars guys, they can be pretty successful. So next after Mars is Jupiter. I think you see it around. Anyway, you get it. So after Mars, we get to Jupiter. On the Jupiter level, here is where we start really having goals. Here we start to have a motivation. On the Mars level, it may also sound like the person may still say that they have goals, but usually their goals doesn't sound like a visionary goals or like developing something. And on the Mars level, again, it could be more like the main motivator is this competitive element. The person, for example, let's say that they are in business and they may even create something innovative. But on this Mars level, the main focus and motivation is just to be different or to be ahead of others. So that's also very interesting how we differentiate things. So on the Jupiter level, the first Jupiter level, we start having some real like long-term motivation or goal or direction. Like those are people who really pursue something. And Usually, again, those are not the goals that you can achieve over 6 months or 3 months or 2 years, and that's all. Usually, those are goals which are long-term or which include like a path. Some people, for example, may focus on something spiritual or developing or growing, like it's an ongoing process. It's not something that you are supposed to achieve short-term. It sounds more like you are moving and moving and moving and growing in this direction. So on the Jupiter level, that's what happens. Okay, next we get to a key point. Where should I put my... Okay, it's fine like this as well. Okay, here. After Jupiter, we get to Saturn. Here is Saturn. This is a critical, difficult phase. So the previous two are much easier. Even the Mars, which may sound like I'm fighting, others are fighting, or they are attacking me, or whatever. Like it may sound kind of dramatic, but objectively, it's not that difficult, even though I don't want to undermine or undervalue the experience, because for someone, when they are having this experience, for them, this may sound also difficult and even dramatic. But when we get to the Saturn level and we look from this perspective, we see that the level is also higher. And the Saturn level of development, objectively, it is difficult. It is difficult. What happens on this phase is that we need to separate from the environment. On the Mars level, we start moving in this direction. Like, metaphorically, this is the kid which has already, or is trying, to learn to dress alone, to eat alone. They usually don't know how to do it very well at the beginning, but of course we encourage them because that's how we all learn. So even though this may sound like, oh, I'm doing it myself, I don't need others, like I'm on my own, that's not really how it is. Like we are still dependent, we are still part, we are engaged with others. But when we get to the Saturn level, things turn around, things really change. This is a phase of difficulties, of isolation, of significant challenges. And there isn't like a one particular way to experience this. It may happen in many different forms, shapes, experiences, and ways. Some of them, again, I'm not able to list all of the possibilities, but some of the options are: you go through a loss, some kind of loss, and you end up alone. For some reason, you need to handle on your own. And it may happen in different life areas. It could be you end up alone after a relationship or a loss of a partner or a business failure or disappointment, or sometimes a health issue, something, an experience which puts you alone on your own in a way. And it doesn't mean that you literally don't have a family at this point, or that you are literally, like a hermit somewhere. Like objectively, this may not be true at all, but the inner experience usually has this taste. And it could happen very often. There could be some kind of betrayal or loss or disappointment. The main point, and again, keep in mind that this is all important for all of us. And even though it sounds like a bad thing, we need this. We really need this, because here is how we develop the real boundaries and the real separation. Or metaphorically, if we talk about an egg, the egg is a very deep spiritual symbol, by the way. And this is the shell. This is the time, the Saturn phase is the time of life and our experience in general when we are supposed to develop this shell. So here we start being like really suspicious. We don't trust the world. We feel like we are all alone in some way. Again, objectively, like you may have family, you may have work, but something shakes you, something happens, and you feel either disappointed or betrayed. You lose your faith. That's, I would say, the most typical thing as an experience, that there is an event or a process in your life which eventually makes you lose your faith in people or in the world. Usually it sounds like generalized, it might be because of one particular person. It could be, let's say, a man or a woman really hurts you or breaks your heart or betrays you. But what happens is that we take this as something general and bigger. And like we lose faith in others, like in men or women, or usually in people overall. So this is a difficult phase of restrictions, limitations, disappointments. But again, it's essential for our development, because you can't have developed personality, if you don't have boundaries. So on the moon level here, where we start, we have no individuality, we have no personality. And even here, we are in the process of getting there, but on the Saturn level, the Saturn phase, this is where our personality is being shaped. And in order to do that, we need to separate from others. It's not always that dramatic. So sometimes, for example, people who are, let's call it like on a spiritual path, they may get through this not necessarily in such a painful way. For example, people who separate for a while from others, like they go in the mountains, they go far away where they don't know anyone. This might be actually a pretty good way to handle with such thing. If you realize that you are on a Saturn phase, or like that's the next step for you, kind of like, making a conscious choice to separate from others, to separate from the crowd, to isolate yourself, to go inside of yourself. So this is like the deep self-exploration phase. And again, I repeat, the most important is to create those boundaries. And this is what allows you to have a personality. So very shortly, that's the process. What happens after that? After that, we start moving again back towards the moon. So we'll put it like this. First moon, second moon. Okay, let me see if you can see it. So again, we started from the moon. This is the first moon level. We had the first Mars, the first Jupiter. We go through this crisis or isolation or self-search or whatever, like usually a more difficult period where we are supposed to develop our personality and boundaries. Then we start moving back to the moon until we get to, sorry guys, it's not very clear, but we get to the second moon. But we pass again through a Jupiter and a Mars phase. And they are not identical. So the two Mars phases, the two Jupiter phases, or even the two moon phases, they are very different. And again, we don't have much time for details, but very briefly, here, during the first cycle, we are more influenced by other people. So even this desire to achieve something, to separate, somehow it has the flavor of what other people are also doing, or even those goals. Like here, we are still influenced more by the external world and the environment. When we start going back, so after Saturn, we focus on Jupiter, second Jupiter, and then second Mars. What happens is that we are doing this more from an inside impulse. So here we are not pursuing like this. This is the second Jupiter. In the second Jupiter level, we are not pursuing the goals of other people, like whatever others understand as prosperity, success, growth. Here we seek our own goals. And then also even for Mars, like we are more committed, like we already have a developed personality here, and we are following this. And there are other nuances, like how you can define if someone has passed the Saturn phase, but very shortly, I will say some hints and suggestions that if someone has fear from the world, from others, usually they're either on a Saturn level or they have passed the Saturn level. So here, the problem is expansion. It's difficult here to expand. Like we learn how to do this, because after the Saturn phase of isolation or loneliness, or in some way being on your own, you start getting closer back to the world, but you are cautious. So here, during this phase, we are very cautious. We don't trust people. We have our suspicions and so on. Like there are other things, but again, I'm trying to really, really summarize it. And then eventually we get to the second moon level. What happens there? We are back to focusing on the simple pleasures of life, but not in this consuming way. So during the first moon, where it was here was the first moon phase, we are consumers. We are more like in the kid phase. You know, the kid is the most selfish creature, and that's how it's supposed to be, because the kid, first of all, needs to learn to take care of themselves and to survive. So again, completely normal. So here we are consumers. On the second moon level, again, we start to connect to the environment, but here we already have something to give. So that's the difference. Here we are closer to the mother archetype of the moon. And obviously that applies to both women and men. And that doesn't mean that you are feminine at all. It means that you are able to nurture or to give to the world, to your closest people, to family, whatever, friends, might be in different ways. So here we also learn to appreciate again the simple life, the joy from life. And it doesn't make you superficial. It doesn't make you a consumer. You can still have the goals, the motivation to succeed, like the other things, they don't disappear. So everything is just building up on the previous step. It doesn't disappear. But I think that this second moon phase is, you know, like very rich of experiences. Because on the Mars-Jupiter levels, sometimes we may forget about the simple joy of life and just, you know, to enjoy, I don't know, like nature or experiences with people. Or here we are more ambitious. We are pursuing something. We are in the rush of something. Again, it's not a bad thing. But we may forget about the moon. We may forget about our needs. We may forget about the joy of life, about nurturing ourselves or nurturing other people. Here we are chasing something, pursuing something, and so on. But when we get to the second moon, it's like coming back home. You know, you have been on a long journey, you have achieved. I just imagined again the hero's journey. We really are, you know, heroes in life, all of us, on every level. That's true. So, but this second moon level, it's like, you know, you have been on this long journey, you have learned, you have experienced so much. The motivation, the success, the disappointment, then finding another motivation within yourself until you realize again that you are not supposed to give up on the nice things in life. Even if you have high goals, if you want to develop, if you want to succeed, if you want to be exceptional, if you want to make a difference or whatever, you are still allowed and you can still enjoy the nice things in life. But again, here we are not as consumers. Here it's in a different way. But this phase, I think, is really great. It doesn't mean that there are no difficulties in life or, you know, that everything is flowers and roses, but there is something special in this. Okay, moving on. So, okay, I will put it like this. What happens after that? Let's make it one. After the second moon, we start moving towards the sun. So here is where we start really going towards developing an individuality. Of course, even from the beginning, eventually that's where we want to get to, but it's a long way, obviously. But here, after the second moon, we get to the sun, or at least we start moving in this direction. And what is the sun? This is our true self, our individuality. So I will summarize it after that, like what is the point of this whole path? But here so after we have connected again to the closest environment, we start going inside of us. Before that, during all of the previous phases, this is not a major focus. Only now, after the second moon, we are really able to go on this self-exploration journey to basically uncover and develop some kind of creative potential and individuality. That's the main point. Obviously, there is no one way to do this. You are not supposed to be an artist or, I don't know, musician, whatever, scientist, like many shapes and forms to achieve that. But we start going deeper inside of ourselves, the creativity. And after that, we go back to the moon. So after the sun, we go back to the moon. What does it mean? After we have uncovered, developed our individuality, our creative potential, our next task is to bring this to the world, back to the moon. So once you find something like here, what is the difference? Like when you go from the moon to the sun, like the first round, you are, again, try to feel this energy, like you are going deeper towards yourself. Here, it's not so easy to express it outside, by the way. That's one of the main struggles of those people here, that they go closer towards themselves and they go deeper and deeper. But here, you know, because the direction is from the moon to the sun. So it means that from the outside world deeper towards your true self. So here, it's not so easy to bring it out yet. It doesn't make it like completely impossible or blocked, but it's not the main flow of the energy. And when we develop the sun, the individuality, we find the creative potential. Here, we become individuals. Here, this is like, in the Jungian terms, this is the process of individuation. So only here we have a real individuality. And then during the second phase, our task is again to go from inside of us outside in the world. So in simple words, to express this creative potential outside, in the outside world, to bring it out. So very, very shortly, like if you look at this, this is like an 8. So we start from the moon here, like this, then it goes like this, and like this. So it's like an 8. My picture is not so, well, it is what it is. I hope you can get the point. Which are the key planets here, as you can see? The moon, Saturn, and the sun. That's why in the spiritual world, it's considered that those are the main 3 planets which define your life path and your karma. The main 3 ones. So depending on where we are, and by the way, again, we need many, many lives to get through this path, to have this journey. No one is able to start from initially, to start from first moon level and to pass all of this and boom, I'm ready. That's how it works. How long does it take? It's not set in stone. So again, it would depend on the intensity of the experiences, but we may have many lifetimes on the same level. But keep in mind that it's highly possible that when you start living your current life, you are also starting from somewhere back. So just like as babies, we have the potential to communicate and learn and speak, but at the beginning, we are not doing this, but usually we learn pretty quickly. So you might be repeating some of the phases. And again, it's possible that you may even be in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you may not have reached your maximum. And when you reach your maximum, you start moving faster after that, because if I'm repeating a phase I have already been through, I already have the keys. I'm going through this faster. And faster doesn't mean like a month or 2. It may still take years, but not lifetimes. And when I get to my record, let's call it, then I haven't been, I don't know what's after that. So it takes much more time, more effort, and so on. But again, especially, if you are somewhere in the after Saturn, if you have already passed Saturn, it's normal that even during the first half of your life, you have not reached your full potential. And you are still remembering what you already know. But to remember it, you need to pass through the experiences, certain experiences. So key points: Saturn, Moon, and the Sun. Why is this important? Obviously, for me, I find it like really interesting and helpful. It helps you to see the general picture and perspective. It helps you to understand, and everything has a point. Every challenge, every difficulty, as awful as it may seem, it has a place and time, and it's bringing you something. This doesn't mean that you're supposed to suffer. This doesn't mean that you should give up and you should accept, oh, I'm on a Saturn level, then I'm, it's like a sentence for life and I shouldn't expect anything. No. If you are on a spiritual path, on a path of development, you can pass through the phases much faster. If you are also moving on the flow of someone else, like a spiritual teacher, a guru, or someone who is ahead of you, you can pass through the phases much faster. So this path, like it's universal, like the 8, it's universal for everyone. But how we get through it, how fast, what we are experiencing, this is not predefined. And the more aware you are of what you're going through, first of all, the faster you may get through potential challenges. And again, this is not about an empty promises that, you will never ever have challenges in your life again. No, I can't promise you that. But you may have an understanding. You may know what is the best you can do. And yes, you may soften the challenges. And you may even, when you face a challenge, because sooner or later, or, at different parts of our lives, we do face challenges. We do face losses. Many of us even have disappointments. Like, that's normal. But you can pass faster through them. So that's really helpful to know. And from an astrology point of view, if you can get an idea where is the person now in their development, you may understand, first of all, okay, what's the next thing, what they should prioritize, what they can expect, and maybe even more importantly, how things in their chart would work. Because if someone is on a basic moon level, the planets will have one way of expression, usually more materialistic, more, in a way, maybe even easier to read. And if someone is, let's say, on a Saturn phase or getting out of the Saturn phase, their experiences will be different, and the way their chart would work will be different. So this is extremely helpful and important. And again, I can't give you like a blueprint, like, oh, if you find this indication or that indication, it's guaranteed, this is the level. You need to explore. And it takes practice and time. Obviously, we will do this during our courses, the main course that starts during December. But as a general recommendation, whether you decide to join or not, so that you can use the concept, keep it in mind. Just be aware of this modality or those modalities and try to explore. You will see how it will really change your understanding, your interpretations, and your readings. Okay, so do we have a volunteer? Let's see if we can do this. Again, I haven't done this yet technically, so we will give it a try. I hope it will work. Do we have a volunteer who wants to join me on Zoom, to turn their camera on and mic, to have a discussion with me, and to read their chart? And so again, I want to ask you, if you want to get a reading, if you are ready, just very shortly, let me know what is the thing you want to understand. Something, so I can get the main point, or I can sense the energy. You don't need to necessarily put the birth details right now, but try to shortly tell me, what do you want to know, or what is your question, or what do you need help with? But please try to find something, if you have it, not to make this up, only if you have it, something which you need guidance about. So we are not talking about prediction in terms of when will I get married, or like questions like that, but more like something that you need a deeper understanding about. Do you have such a question? And I will wait a moment, because I know that we have a delay between the translation goes with the delay. So I see that we have volunteers, but try to say briefly, like, what is your question, or what do you need guidance? Great, but try to, like Priska is describing. No, not in terms of, I don't understand this sign position, but like from life perspective. Like, is there something that is not working in your life, or you don't understand, like from more like a human perspective, or like a life experience? And for everyone else also, keep in mind that this will always be helpful for you. If you have been part of such like analysis, demonstrations, readings live, you are never there for no reason. You always have something to hear, or you will find some insights. So I highly recommend everyone else to be open-minded and to see, okay, even though this is another person, another chart, another question, like what might be in common with me, or how this might be beneficial. I'm sure that you will also find something for yourself. And obviously, if you are interested in astrology, also, this is a great way to see how things work and to learn. Okay, perfect. We have some questions. Angelica very well has described. Matea also. Okay, Angelica. Would you like to join me on Zoom? To try, we'll see. So I'm waiting for Angelica to answer me. And meanwhile, also, I shouldn't forget to remind you again about our upcoming courses, or it's one course but includes 2 modules. So we'll see, maybe after the reading I will share with you again. But I just don't want to forget that if you sign up, we have a special bonus right now. If you sign up for the new course on astrology for development and progress, for the 2 modules, and you take the one-time payment option, you first of all will get 2 2 courses as a gift, relationship astrology and karmic astrology. And you will also get an in-depth, extensive analysis. I'm calling this like a life map study, astrology study, which includes a rectification, looking at the background story coming from past life charts and prenatal new moons, deep dive into your current life chart, and also a 10-year predictive analysis of your development. So this is like a huge work for me, honestly. And the cost for this is $500. If you sign up until Friday, no, what is it? I think it was until Friday. You will get this as a gift in addition. So, okay, Angelica wants to join me. Great, let's try this. So I need to send my Zoom link. And guys, please let only Angelica join me on Zoom. So if you are not Angelica, please don't join me there. We will still be here with you. So Angelica, please follow the link on Zoom. Only Angelica. I will wait for you. Let's see if this will work, but I think it should. I posted the link on Zoom. I'm sorry, on YouTube in the comments. I hope the link works. From what I can see here, it should work. So we are waiting for Angelica. It says as the let's see. It says that the host has another. Let's see. This should be the meeting I'm currently having. No, you are right. This is another meeting. How do I invite you? Yeah, I started the meeting directly on Zoom. And this is my usual meeting. Okay, let's try again. Well, I'm not sure how I can send you a link. Probably I'm not able to do that now. Yes, that's what I'm trying to check. Like if I can invite participants straight to the group, to the meeting. But I don't see such an option here on Zoom. I don't see it. Guys, if everyone else has an idea how we can do this, because if I have started this meeting at the beginning, it would have worked. But I didn't do it this way. I just started the meeting. And when I open my Zoom, It doesn't show me the meeting in progress. Well, in this way, I think that we will need to do it just without, or, you know, guys, the other option is to start again the meeting. Should we break it like this? Let's see. To start another meeting, or to do it without the live discussion, just from the details. Oh, okay, let's give it another try. We'll try it again. So I will end this meeting, guys, and I will start it again, and I will wait for you there, and we will try to do it right. Yeah, the other option is to do it just with the details, but I wanted to like have the talk and really talk to the person. It will be more helpful if we do it. Okay, so I'm ending this meeting now, guys. Go to the home page and you should be able to see. I will wait for you to join me again. We'll give it another try. So thank you.